Welcome to part 3 of Critical Thinking, Deep Tech Innovation, Energy, Engineering, and Science. In part 3, we're looking at the role of open markets and government in supporting innovation. Innovation doesn't come from government, it never has. We're looking also at geothermal, LNG, hydro, and energy conversion. They're all tools in the tool belt for becoming energy independent. And we're looking also at opportunities with coal and carbon.
And as a society, we have to understand really what the role of government is. So if you ask me what the role of government is, to me, the role of government is to support the national interest, but not dictate the national interest, right? And there's a huge difference. You know, as a person who's made companies yourself and as an entrepreneur yourself, the best companies that I've made and that you've probably made are the ones where you put together the best team to make the job and you didn't micromanage them and you let them be themselves, right?
Yep.
Where you that's what we need to have as a society, as a democracy. Both the United States and Canada, our leaders need to allow industry and to do what they do best and to give them the tools. And frankly, I believe the future. The problem is that certain elements of it's not a coincidence that the left, their donor base is the Silicon Valley crowd. And the reason is because that crowd, while they might, kind of like come off as woke, the truth is that they are still part of that oligarchy, vulture capitalist society where they want to maximize their profits, and they have no problem outsourcing all the jobs to India and into Southeast Asia and frankly even to South America. But the truth is that if we don't want them to come here, we got to make sure that they have a pretty good situation down south. And the way to do that is that the United States and Canada should be working together with the Five Eyes to build up South America. I think Africa's already lost. The Chinese pretty much control Africa, whether we want to admit it or not. I think it's pretty much a done deal. They have so much assets down there. And with their Asia Investment Bank that they founded in, I think, 2015, I mean, they've created they've financed trillions of dollars into a lot of different industries. By the way, one of which is nuclear. So when I started Curio, I said, let's look at the Chinese and let's see what they're doing. And and we should be copying them because they're investing $440 billion with a B into nuclear energy technology development for their Belt and Road Initiative. Why? Because they're going to create a $4 trillion market in Asia for nuclear.
I position it to try to keep some of the politics out of it, because usually people will say, oh, if you're on the right, you want oil and gas. And if you're on the left, you want all these new innovation with green. And I kind of say, listen, let's bridge this gap. And we'll do it by saying, we're going to have to use oil anyway. It's plastics. We have it in everything. So that's a non-starter. If we could convince, say China and Africa and some South American companies to not use coal, or India to not use coal and just use natural gas, that's a major chunk of carbon emissions off the table. Boom, right away. Absolutely. So you go, that's a great solution. 2 is the idea that even if you don't believe in climate change and you just, I don't want to talk about it, go, okay, that's fine. We can still deal with this. If your challenger, or if another country, which is progressing at a rapid rate, is investing trillions and is looking to renewable, let's say you don't even believe it, but if they pull it off and they don't have to, they're not beholden to you in any way, and they have a renewable energy source that they're on their own, energy is like a foundation to a country. And that then puts the U.S. in a very tight spot. And I kind of look at it as being kind of like an arms race almost.
Not even a question. When you speak about like energy security, I'm an all of the above guy, all of the above. Solar, wind, oil, gas, even coal. I'm not against it. I just say do it in the most environmentally sustainable way and let the markets decide. Don't create subsidies and don't create special interest groups. Give the markets the ability to decide. But if you have a truly holistic and stakeholder conscious approach to energy production, then you're going to realize that different energy sources have different maximum utilizations, and you're going to use those for those type of processes. And therefore, every single thing is going to be actually used, and everybody's going to eat. See, that's really what stakeholder conscious capitalism is about. It's about making the largest pie possible where everybody eats, right?
Yes.
And that's really where I think that, like, when there's a battle now with socialism in the West for the spirit of the West, right? Do we become socialist in some sort of new iteration of socialism? Or do we try that experiment again? Or do we, redefine capitalism? Capitalism as it is now is not going to survive that battle.
Yeah.
But a reframing of capitalism does, and I'm happy to see that, to hear that you agree with me on this. But let's take China and India. These countries are investing in major ways, and if we were to prevent ourselves from becoming energy exporters, then we are losing a major foothold in the economic, so to speak, balance of the world. One of the things, for example, was LNG ports, right? Canada and the United States have a tremendous amount of natural gas, but we don't have the LNG ports that give us the ability to efficiently right now. Why didn't the Trump administration invest money to make LNG ports?
Yeah.
Right? I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure some people in the administration have some, cock and bull story of why they did that. But at the end of the day, this is a perfect example. Meanwhile, at the same time, the Biden administration is investing a lot in battery technologies and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's not taking a holistic approach. It's saying, no, we're going to take one winner and we're going to say everybody now needs to have lithium ion battery storage in their house to store energy. Meanwhile, how do you know that's the best way of doing it when you could literally build a nuclear reactor of 1 gigawatt that will power your entire city, rain, shine, or snow, right? It doesn't really matter. And then you could still have your lithium ion battery for your car because that's probably what you want to have, and you could, there's a lot of different, and you don't even need that much lithium if you have wireless charging everywhere, which is probably where we should go. At the same time, geothermal storage is also really amazing. I just learned this recently. 90% conversion rate for energy
For
in
geothermal.
Not geothermal, in hydro.
In hydro. Oh, hydro. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Like, there are so many rivers and opportunities for hydro in North America, and frankly, water management, it would be smart because it would prevent droughts, right? And you could combine the two, and you now have power and you have management. Right now, like in the state of California, one of the reasons why they have a drought is because that they have laws that don't allow them to reserve the water and hold it. They have to let it flow back into the ocean, so therefore it gets all lost. But I want to touch on a different point because that you brought it up, and I want to digress back to that. You said that China and all these countries are burning coal, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second. Doesn't that mean that China and all these countries that are, so to speak, growing at a rapid rate, we could go to negative emissions, and they're still going to destroy the environment.
Yeah.
Right? Couple that with the fact that they don't have the same regulatory environment that we have.
Yeah.
They literally can pour garbage into the ocean and kill and chemicals and all kind of crazy stuff. If you really are an environmentalist and you really care about the environment, why are you not doing everything you can in your power to make sure that you snuff out the life of the energy and manufacturing capabilities of these countries?
Yes. Why is it off the table to even question?
Like that's if you believe that climate change is the biggest threat to the survival of our species, I'm agnostic. I think environment is a good thing. I want my kids to have clean air and clean water, and we should live in a beautiful planet. That's what I care about. Okay. I don't know if it's going to destroy the planet or not. I haven't had really a lot of snow in New York this year. I don't know why that is, but who knows, right? With that said, after COVID, a lot of people ask a lot of questions about the government because we were told that masks are working, and now finally they're admitting that they don't work, right? And it's like now a transpartisan thing that even at the State of the Union, no one was wearing masks because the cat is out of the bag, right?
Yeah.
Pre-COVID, I was also agnostic. I wore a mask because I didn't want to get COVID and die, right? Like
Yeah.
at the time, I was told it was a terrible disease, and that's how we are. That we're wired to try to self-preservation. So we're going to work to protect ourselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. And some people take it a little to the extreme in both ways, and that's fine. But one thing that is for sure is that if you are an environmentalist and you care about the environment, you have no better shot unless we go to total chaos and anarchy, or we go to an environment destroyed by frankly by Asia. You have every incentive to make sure that the United States and Canada become the manufacturing base of the world. And we have, like you said, capabilities to do that.
Yeah.
And it would uplift our people. I don't know why we don't do it. I hope some people who listen to your podcast hear what we're saying, because it's a very important thing.
These are the questions that I've asked, because it's quite confusing. Is why can't you question China and its emissions? And I would say to people, Canada is responsible for about 1.4%. So if we turned off everything, I mean, don't drive a car, turn off all industry, just stop. We're going to go agrarian. We would have almost no impact in the world. Like 36 million people decide that's it. We're all going to just build. What are you going to burn? You're going to burn wood? Well, that's a biomass. That's going to cause a lot of emissions that itself. But if that was a solution for someone, and there's a lot of really ardent environmentalists, that's the reality. Is if we all stopped in Canada, just all together, it has almost no impact on the planet. And that is a wake-up call to real data that's different than the narrative we hear all day.
Yeah, and during the time the Clean Futures Act came out, which was like the Democrat platform for the Green New Deal. So I had my team, a whole bunch of engineers that work in several of my companies. I got them all together. One of them is a young female environmental engineer, and she went to Columbia, and she's very smart, and she was even very open minded, but like was willing to have a conversation. I said to her, go read the bill, and then go read the data. And it's actually funny. Once she started working for me, and she started going through all the mining data, and how she realized that really the environmental impact of mining is actually not that big of a deal as much as she was taught in class.
Yep.
She was like, "Wait, what's the big deal?"
Yeah.
Like the way we could do it based off of our regulations are completely different. Like if you have a coal plant and you have scrubbers, that coal plant is not creating that many emissions.
Yeah.
Take that carbon, you have to sequester it and go and bury it somewhere, or turn it into some sort of other mass. Am I saying we should just burn coal? No, because coal is worth a lot more money as carbon pitch to create carbon fiber and carbon materials than it's worth as a burning material. And I believe that in 30 years from now, you and I are going to be laughing about the fact that we used to burn coal.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, we used to burn this stuff. Now it's worth 3,000 metric
yes.
per ton, and it was worth 50, right?
Yes.
And that's really what real sustainability is all about. Trying to maximize those opportunities.
And I'm glad too, because you hear some of the climate alarmist kind of conversations, and it always just kind of ignores technology and that we might have an application that continues to get better. Being in the space, I know that we've got lots of solutions just ready to go. I mean, like a vanadium redox battery. If the government really wanted to get behind it, they could do this. The molten salt reactors. There's things that could come into place right away that could be done. So it's a frustrating conversation when you reach out to people that aren't aware, to say the narrative is very different than the reality. There are solutions that if your governments were that keen, if they would listen, we could be doing this right now and getting people mobilized, motivated. Instead of marching the streets, throw a couple $100 behind XYZ publicly traded company. Because guess what? You're going to be part of the solution. And in 5 or 10 years, you're going to feel like, listen, we've done something positive. I've made some money.
Yeah, look, there is so much opportunities for these people. And like, one of the things that has been a big concern for me, and I've done a little investment in precision agriculture, and I'm going to try to get into that more because that there's a declining amount of that right now. The average age of a North American farmer is
Mm.
about 57 years old, and like actual family oriented farming is a thing of the past. Now it's all macro farming. There's a lot less farmland, but there's a lot larger macro farming, and it reduced the quality of the food, and it has negative health impacts, etc., etc. But if you were able to bring the farm back to the family by introducing new innovative ways to farm that can be attractive to Zoomers and to Gen Alphas, right? Like, oh, you want to code? Well, how about you go and you use your drone with your and AI learning to now basically grow your entire field as it becomes a video game for them, right?
Yes.
Not only kids want to become farmers again because that they're like literally, it's like managing like a Sim City, right? And some video game. But that's really where we should be going, like vertical farming and stuff like that. These are ways where we could again be feeding the world, and we're not there yet. And I do think though that people are going to wake up over the next couple years, because that I think that radical sides on both sides of the aisles are just not going to bring the solutions that we need. And people, the regular, the center, right, center, left, they're going to say, okay, we need common sense solutions because that we're in the majority, and we want to protect our future, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.